live video. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and again, welcome to Bwtm Sports Gaming, the channel, the boxing channel that will tell you the truth, whether you like it or not. The boxing channel that will predict the future and tell you things that happen in the future before it happens and not complain about it afterwards. How many times in this channel have we told you things are going to happen before they happen? And guess what? Spot on, they happen. Well, I've been seeing recently channels talking about whether Anthony Yarde was mismanaged. Well, what do you mean to say to you? Are you just realizing now that his career has been mismanaged? Are you not realizing, like after the Kovalev fight, that his career was mismanaged? Are you realizing that back then they didn't have a clue, and now they still don't have a clue? Are you realizing now that the technique that Yarde has got is no way, shape, or form able to A, protect himself at all times, and B, be able to ensure that he is able to use his attributes to the best of his ability? I mean, surely, when you come into the sport, any sport you come into, you want to make sure that you've got dreams and ambitions and you want to be the best you possibly can be. Right? That nobody wants to become in second place or third place. Yes, it happens. We can't all be world champions. We can't all be like British champions, European champions, world champions, undisputed champions. And for those people who do it, well done. Congratulations. They've made a conscious decision to dedicate themselves to the sport and to do what's necessary. Can you do a speech for my girlfriend Andrea? We just argued. Funny guy. What would you like me to say to Andrea? What would you like me to say? What would you like me to say? You've argued. Hey, all I will say, I'll stop my little speech for a second. I will say this much. Whatever you argue about today, just make sure that you go to bed happy with one another. Yeah? Just make sure. Settle it and know that the love and the care you have for one another means more than your argument. She's a really good person, and that me, Fabio, is really, really sorry. Oh, right. Well, he's really, really sorry. Andrea, he's really, really sorry. And you're really good person. And yeah, that's what Fabio wants you to know. Anyway, so back on with the show. Fabio, I hope you sort it out with Andrea, and I hope it all works out. Moving on. Gonna go back to things. So, you want to be the best. Thank you so much. You want to be the best possible version of yourself when you enter sport, and you put your faith in your team, your coach, whether it be amateur or pro. You want to be the best you possibly can be at it. And I I don't know what you could be, and you be loyal. There's nothing wrong with being loyal, right? I understand the whole thing about being loyal, the person that got you there when there was nobody around for you in the first place. I get all of that. But, I mean, don't you look around? Don't you see what other fighters are doing? Even Floyd's career, how Floyd had his career, or just look around and see even other fighters. I mean, when Anthony Yarde now sits down after he retires, because we're gonna get on, I'm gonna get onto that as well. Like, you want it British, Commonwealth, European. Now, with the ability Anthony Yarde's got, I think at least issue British light heavyweight champion. At least. At least. British light heavyweight champion. At least. And then hold the Lonsdale bout outright. You can earn some good money from that. Being British champion. I don't know. Because that's where I think he should be. For the ability he's got, and for the position he's in now, with the technique and things, he should go and fight for the British light heavyweight championship. British champion. And then try and hold that belt outright. That's what I would do. If I were him now, I wouldn't be going anywhere near a Callum Smith or Joshua Bwtm at this point in time. I'd go and fight at British level. Do you understand? I would go and fight at British level. I think Yarde was paid to throw that fight with Benavidez like all the other Benavidez opponents at light heavyweight. I don't think he was paid to that fight. I don't think so. I don't think so. Benavidez, you could see what Benavidez was trying to do for you tell me, right? If that means that Yarde was paid to throw the Kovalev fight and paid was throw the Bwtm fight. First of all, Yarde cannot deal with a jab, a good jabber. Second of all, he cannot handle pressure. When the guy steps to Yarde and he closes the range down the Yarde doesn't know what to do. Thirdly, when Ryde's back is against, I don't think the fight was thrown, man. Fear. Listen, fear. I don't think he was. I know he wasn't throwing punches, but was he allowed to throw punches? Was he allowed? You see, there's one thing when you're fighting a guy that's old, or you're fighting a guy that's a lot slower. You can't compare Kovalev and Benavidez, right? Who both guys were in their 40s on the other side of their career, compared to a man who's on the up. Go back and look at my preview to this fight. Well, you'd be okay. It's not scared to plant your feet. It's ability, and he hasn't got the ability, because he's not been taught the fundamentals. The time, all those years that Yarde was boxing, all them years and all them fights he's had, and all that training he was doing in that gym, he was not taught the fundamentals. That you don't put yourself and sit against the ropes, allow yourself to get punched up. How to block and slip a jab. Huh? All these years, and you watch Yarde at the start of his career and look at him now. You tell me where you can see progression. As a coach, right? As a coach, and this is something I've been coaching for 25 years. I tell you now, and not just coaching in England. I've coached around the world. England, America, Australia, the Caribbean, Africa. Different circumstances, different situations, different challenges. Right? And I tell you now, the thing remains the same. You get a player or you get a team, there's where they are at the start, where they are and where you want them to be. And there's a journey in between that. You assess your strengths, your weaknesses, things you do well, the things you don't do so well. What are we going to do to become better? And through the process and through competitive matches, you look to improve. You be honest with yourself and you say, these are the things we need to work on. These are the things we did well. These are the things we didn't do so well. And that's how we make improvements. But what are the improvements? Why was I was able to literally tell you exactly what would happen to Anthony Yarde when he fought Benavidez. Thank you so much. I appreciate you saying you see me on TV. I appreciate that. I agree. Yarde has regressed badly. He so learned from Joe Parker when he noticed he was regressing and went to Andy Lee. Yeah, he did go to Andy Lee, but that had his other challenges as well. It's like from the frying pan into the fire. Yeah, he might have gone to Andy Lee, but he hooked up with Tyson Fury's body. So that might not have worked out too well. So from the frying pan into the fire. I'll come back to Joseph Parker another time. I'm going to come back to Yarde on this process of from beginning, from where you start to where you're meant to be or where you should be. What is the end goal? So, all right, you took Yarde on and your aim was to take him to become a world champion. So you tell me how you jump from fighting guys you should be beating up, how you go from guys you should be beating up to fighting guys that are going to absolutely take your head off. Can you work that logic out? The only way, and I said this years ago when people thought I was talking rubbish, the reason why you skipped the queue is because you thought in between skipping the queue, you'd meet some real guys there, some real ones that are taking your head off before you got to world level. So you skipped the queue to get to a world title fight. You see, Nigel Benn did something. You see, Ben, he fought for the Commonwealth title. Ben had a good amateur career, and he had a good amateur career. He fought in the army. Right, he was a good puncher, and the thing that he had a good trainer. I remember Ben getting knocked out by Michael Watson, and when he got knocked out by Michael Watson, he went to America. He wasn't good enough. He went to America, and that boy worked. He worked and he came back. Right, he got beat by Eubank. He come back again. Did it the hard way, Ben. Ben, you went and fought for the WBO title. Yeah, you had to get off the deck against Doug DeWitt to win the title at Atlantic City. But that's not my point. I'm just giving examples there. Because people say skipping the queue. Frank Bruno fought for the British title. Right? He was British champion. Then he went on to become, I'm sure British, was it British champion Bruno? I'm sure he was British heavyweight champion. Gary Mason fought for the British heavyweight championship. And it was British champion. They're guys that do light heavyweights. Guys who did it the proper way. Clinton Woods, British, Commonwealth, European, and all went on to become world champion eventually. Do it the right way, right? Because it's like, I gave the analogy the other day. You go and you play Afterburner. Do you ever remember Afterburner? In the era play a fighter jet, and you used to in the arcade, and you put your 50p on, you put your pound in, and you felt that you're a fighter, you're fighting a fighter jet and blowing things up. You can't go from being Afterburner and then say, yeah, right, I'm gonna go out there and fly planes for the army, or I'm gonna go and be a military pilot now. It don't work like that. Much less is it going to work in boxing like that. And as you keep telling people, I only had a couple of amateur bouts, I didn't have many amateur bouts. If you know you didn't have as many amateur bouts, then you should spend more time in the pro ranks. But you know what? What you lose out in one, you gain in another. Because what happened there was Yarde got good sponsorship. And for that, it's fine. I'll hand you and your channel over to. There we go. I'll hand you over to YouTube. Let YouTube deal with you and your channel. Fantastic. Better still, you get a knock at the door by the police. You deal with that one. See if it's worth it at the end, mate. There we go. As I was saying, so you can't go from that point. You can't go for that point in time. You can't jump. You've got to go through. You've got to do things the right way. And even more so, you didn't have an extensive amateur career background. You take your time. But it worked in their favour in terms of a sponsorship. But Look where we are today. The thing that I find most astounding up to today, another YouTube channel has an interesting theory. He believes that Tunde and Yarde are scamming the public. What do you think? I don't think Yarde's scamming the public. I don't think they're scamming the public, right? What I think is, imagine, for example, like me and you are buddies, yeah? Me and you are buddies, and we sort of think alike. And we think, you know what? We see a lot of guys in boxing. We say, like, imagine, like me and you, example, me and you, Joseph. We go up the pub. Let's go to the pub, or we go. We go to Costa, right? And we go to Costa, and we sit down, we have a chat, and we say stuff. You know what? Look at the boxing game at the moment. A lot of guys in boxing get into boxing, but they don't make no money out of boxing. And then you fight all these guys, all these tough opponents and stuff. And no matter how many tough opponents you fight, people are always criticizing you. And you know what? That's what we're going to do. We're going to make as much money as possible. We're going to travel the world. And we're going to make as much money as we can while we're doing it. Right? We're going to get in and we're going to get out of this sport. I'm going to make a name for myself, and you're going to make a name for yourself. And what the fans think is what the fans think. But ultimately, we've got to end out this sport changing our lives. Right? We have to have money in our bank account, good money in our bank accounts, and we've got to make more money than a lot of these guys out there that didn't make the money. We have to be different. And look, the minute we get opportunity, we'll reach out to sponsorship brands and we will do X, Y, and Z. That's what I believe more will happen than they scam the public. Like two guys that trust each other on the journey and say, no matter what, you stick with me. I've got your back, you got my back, no matter what. We're getting for this together. We'll sign this contract here together. You're not leaving me and I'm not leaving you. No matter how difficult it gets, we are in this together. And to me, that looks more like the Tunde and Anthony Yarde relationship. Because if I'm honest with you, there is no reason whatsoever that Yarde should still be there, apart from loyalty. And he's thoroughly loyal to Yarde, to Tunde. Thoroughly. And you're not making the adjustments. And this is not a digging out of people. So I asked the question, is he under a spell? Is he truly under a spell? Because the fact that you've just got absolutely annihilated, it wasn't even close. You got absolutely annihilated. Like, the hot knife through butter example is the best way to describe it. He went straight through him. He went through you like a laxative. Straight through him. Straight through him. Took his time. Said, right. I've got you now. I'm timing you now. Right. Let's see what you got. Right. Let me put it on. You stick it on you. I know you're going to back up against some ropes. I know you can't defend yourself against them ropes. And I know when I let my hands go, if you're back against some ropes, you're at your most vulnerable. And when I let my hands go, I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to hurt you. And guess what? I'm going to dig down to the body as well. I'm going to dig down to your body as well. I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to really hurt you. I'm put punches that I'm really going to hurt you. And I'm going to get you out of here as quick as possible. And that's what Benavidez was doing. And that's exactly what he did. But even after that, after the Bwtm knockout defeat, the Kovalev knockout, the knockout defeat when Tunde went and said, empty the tank. Go and empty the tank. Well, let's go back to that first fight against Kovalev. I said against Kovalev, you got to jump on Kovalev. You must jump on Kovalev. If you don't jump on Kovalev and you allow Kovalev to get a jab on you and put a jab on you, you get knocked out. Well, that's what happened. Empty the tank. Why didn't you go first round and try to get Kovalev out there and fight him? Use your physical strength to try and manhandle Kovalev. No, you sat on the back foot and tried to box Kovalev, who's a superior boxer to you, got a superior jab to you, got superior boxing ability to you, superior footwork to you, and a guy who is a bit vulnerable around the old whiskers, you allowed him to get comfortable. We saw what happened there. You went back and did that same stuff again against a guy who's a noted puncher, a noted freakish puncher. You decide to back yourself up against the ropes. And as early as round 2, which I said it myself, from round 2, Yarde was hurt. People are talking rubbish. He admitted it in an interview from round 2 was getting hurt. Oh, but he put on a brave performance. What is this? Are we here for brave performances? And in the end, he got knocked out. And then we go to what we've got now of Benavidez. But I would think common sense would tell you that if you are fighting a volume puncher, you would spend the whole camp staying off the ropes. And that's why I felt he threw this fight. Who's going to tell him to do that? Who's going to educate him to do that? Game plan number one against Kovalev. Don't box him, jump on him. You let Kovalev box you, neutralize you, knock you out. Second time, this guy, Bwtm, what you do? You let him dictate the fight. He's the better boxer. He's got more experience than you. Why are you allowing his experience? That's nonsense. They don't have no tactics about them. Third thing, who's Anthony Yarde been sparring? All this time, who's he been sparring? Have you ever heard any reports from anybody that says, oh, you know, Yarde's a top, I sparred Yarde and he's a top guy? Have you ever heard that? Have you ever heard? I've not seen a clip about Anthony Yarde where people say, I sparred Anthony Yarde, he's a really good boxer. I've not heard a peep. Never. Nobody of any note, significant note that says, yeah, I sparred Yarde. Never. Never. So, I don't get it. And here's another point. Have you ever heard, they say, oh yeah, wait until the fight. Have you ever heard a technical breakdown as to what you have to do to beat these guys? Like, how do you beat Kovalev? I can give you a technical breakdown how to beat Kovalev with Anthony Yarde. Could somebody describe to me and tell me what sort of a style Anthony Yarde has got? Because as far as I'm concerned, he fights like a lighter weight fighter. He's like, if you look at the way Yarde fights, he's like a Poundland version of Kell Brook. You look how Kell Brook, look at the Kell Brook in his peak, right? Kell Brook would he'd look at you and pick a shot, and then pick a shot, and then pick a shot, and he'd put 2-3 punches together. That's how Kell Brook used to fight. But I say Poundland Kell, because Kell actually won a world title. But the same sort of thing, muscular build, big, lots of muscles, you know. And he can't sustain an attack. Another guy that used to fight, colour like that, similar, that sort of work rate. Chris Eubank can't sustain an attack. 1, 2, 3 shots, and then have to, because that's the way they train. That's the way. Jim Watt used to say, back in the day, he used to say, you can't prepare for a war if you're not trained for battle. Like, for example, if you're trained to throw 4 punches in a fight, yeah, or 4 punches or 10 punches in a fight, 10 punches around, yeah, 10 punches around, you train to throw 10 punches around because you haven't got the endurance or the lungs to go for 10, to throw 10 punches, more than 10 punches in a round. What happens? You throw 10 punches. And against lower level opposition, they stand in front of you, they look at you, bang, bang, you throw your 1, 2, they fall over. Remember back in the day when Yarde used to hit guys and he used to fall over? Or then he'd hit them with a quick combination and the referee stopped the fight. Why is he not doing that now? The only time he can do that against guys who stand... Look at what happened when he fought Ralph Vilch. Go back and look at that Ralph Vilch again. That is the best of Anthony Yarde right there. That's the best of him. That is the best you're going to get of Anthony Yarde. It doesn't get any... And this current era of Anthony Yarde doesn't get any better than that. I did a video about 3-4 months ago and I said I've given up on Anthony Yarde. Given up. Because I don't see no change. And now, after all we've seen, after all the disappointments, now guess what? Has come out and said, oh, he'd like somebody to work alongside Tunde. What? So the beatings you've taken have not put sense in your head to understand you need to leave this trainer. Unless, however, as I said before, they made an arrangement that no matter what happens, you're going to stick with me and I'm going to stick with you. Which is like Tunde and Yarde married in boxing. And that, they're as bad as one another. So I don't feel sorry for Anthony Yarde and I don't feel sorry for Tunde. That they have had the highs of highs and the lows of lows. What was Yarde's highest moment? Probably knocking out Lyndon Arthur. That's in the rematch and stopping Lyndon Arthur inside the distance. That was probably Anthony Yarde's best career win. That's it. I agree that it's what happened to Isaac Dogbear's fight in sports screwed him over as he moved up in weight. Well, there's a lot of things that happened to Isaac Dogbear, but see, you have to be careful who you... If you... It depends how you follow certain people in boxing. Certain people will pull you away from your roots or pull you away from people who've got a little bit more sense. And you start following these people down a snake. You see, you only realise you're walking down the road of a snake when you actually have to walk back the road and find out afterwards the snake that led you all the way there. The snake took you away from where you should have been going and has led you where you've just been used and abused. Snake road. And I see it so many times in boxing. I see it. I see people I'm talking to, good. And then you see the snake come in and whisper in their ear and take them down a road of no return. And you just watch their career just, from having a promising career, just become absolutely nothing. Yeah, not great. And what's to admit that Yarde better be a fight is the Yarde quit in that fight after the first knockdown. He was exhausted. Which means he was not properly prepared for the fight. He wasn't properly prepared. Every fight you fight, you're gassing. Which goes back to the question, how hard was Yarde being pushed in the gym? Next question, how hard was he being pushed in sparring in the gym? Right? Because if you're not getting quality sparring to push you, then how do you know you're ready for a fight? You can run, but are you match fit? Right? You could do 12 rounds in a bag. You can hit the heavy bag. You can do that stuff. But all that is at your pace or at your trainer's pace. That is what sparring is for. Sparring is for you to put under competitive pressure, for you to work on things. But of course, if you've got people in there for competitive spar, which means a guy is coming in there to test you, to test your defense, to test your offense, right? To test how you handle being under pressure. So when you're backed up in the corner and your defense is leaky, your training looks and says, you know what? You need to keep off them ropes. Or, you know what? Hey, that shoulder roll ain't working there. We need to refine that and change that. That shoulder ain't working. Or, you know what? Instead of just staying there, and get hit with a jab, maybe you should move your head a bit more. Those things you work on, and if you're working on things, you're going to see improvement. But if you're not regularly sparring against good opposition, then how are you going to improve? Isn't the expression iron sharpens iron? Why would you keep sparring in secret? I don't understand. There's so many top fighters in the world you hear about. People have sparred Crawford, somebody sparred Bwtm, or somebody sparred Canelo, or somebody sparred Klitschko. You hear about fighters. You name me any fighter in the world. Oh, people have sparred Golovkin, people have sparred Sean Porter, people have sparred Conor Benn. But this dude, you hear nothing about his sparring. Nothing. Nothing. And you think to yourself, if that's what Yarde was able to achieve, if that's what he was able to achieve based on that, think to yourself what he could have achieved with good boxing fundamentals, good quality sparring, and the right matchups. If Yarde and Tunde were serious about getting ready for Benavidez, he would have been sparring Ralph Wiltz to get ready. Phil Counts, yeah, you should have done. Ralph Phil Counts have been good for him. He barely got through that fight. Barely. Barely. Where is the thing to hold, see, accountability? Who's going to hold the camp accountable when things go wrong? You know who's going to hold them accountable? I'll tell you who holds them accountable. I'll tell you who the judges are. Do you know who the 3 judges are, or the 4 judges are? Well, I'll say 3 judges. You want to hear their names? Benavidez, Kovalev, Benavidez. They're the 3 judges that hold Yarde and his team accountable. Lines in the camp with 3 judges. 3 judges, 3 judgment calls. Not good enough, not good enough, not good enough. Didn't prepare properly, didn't prepare properly, didn't prepare properly. Is he a scammer? No, I'm not gonna sit here and say that Tunde's a scammer. No. Scam, no. Gamble, yes. Gamble, yes. Scam, no. Because he's got a methodology, and he would have taken years to put that methodology. And look, there's some good guys that have come through or who've been around Tunde at some point in time. They've trained with Tunde, right? But look, every teacher, every coach should be willing to make adjustments and should be willing to hold their hands up and say, you know what, I got this wrong, I need to get it right. The fact that Anthony Yarde is saying that he wants another pair of eyes in the camp, Tunde is head coach. That's not happening. To be fair, Tunde's heart is in the right place, but that's about it. In the right place for who? Look, like I said, if it's 2 guys that set out on a journey to make the best they could out of the sport, congratulations to them. Because out of this, right, out of this journey, I'm going to call it a marriage, right? Out of this, listen, Tunde and Yarde have got a better marriage than most people commenting in this comment section. I'm telling you. Because the amount of drama them 2 have been through, the knockouts, the knockdowns, they've been for everything. They've had the highs of highs that night against Lyndon Arthur, and the lows of lows, which I would say is the Benavidez fight, because it wasn't even competitive. So I would call them a married couple. Either that, and I say that in the most respectful way, not disrespectful, because, depends on how much you value marriage. Then, add on top of that, this bit, because otherwise Yarde is under a spell. Why the hell, after 3 brutal knockouts, right? 3 brutal knockouts, why would you still stick with the same guy and then want to bring somebody else in to another pair of eyes in the gym? Maybe the eyes you got in the gym are blind. Maybe, or just not good for you. Maybe, I don't know. It's not my call. But certainly, I don't want to see him fight. I don't even want to see Yarde fight again. I don't want to see him fight again. I don't, honestly. But if he is going to come back, he gets rid of Tunde. But I don't even see if that's going to even help him now, because it's so ingrained in the system. No, I don't. I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. And okay, right. So he breaks away from Tunde now, because I know a lot of you go, oh yeah, he needs to sack Tunde. Why? Why would he sack Tunde now? Now, why? So 3 world title fights. You push him to have a 4th world title fight. That's how well he didn't fight Bivol. Jesus. What if Yarde already told us what he's about, and he's too in love with his story? He's in love with his story. He's in love with his story, and the story is, yeah, he gives a good account of himself against the elites, and they're all top fighters. And well, you got the line right there. The great salesman. It's like, oh, you know what? If we get beat by them, well, you know what? Guess what? Tunde? Guess what? AY? Guess what? But you listen to the way they talk to one another, AY and Tuns. I mean, the way they talk to one about one, they've got a really. The only other relationship I would have said, David Haye when he was with Adam Booth, they were almost inseparable. Carl Froch with Rob McCracken. You don't stop talking about Rob McCracken. Like, faithful. They have got a great relationship. But it's all about, whilst I'm saying, it's all about the fact of, well, you know what? If we lose, you know, yeah, that you didn't have much of an amateur background. So if you lose against these guys, they're going to be greats anyway. And the people that criticise you, so what if they criticise you? You're making more money than them, right? And they're only fans. What do they know? So just tell the fans, I got beat, but remember, I only had a few amateur fights. And if I get beat by these guys, I give a good account of myself. Mate, that's the reason why you shouldn't be fighting these guys. As a matter of fact, the British Boxing Board of Control should step in when guys have got limited amateur fights fighting for world titles. They should step in and say, no. No. And they should use Anthony Yarde as the example of that. Yeah, you made a lot of money, but this is where people can get seriously hurt. So let me leave that to one side. So is Yarde under spell? If he is, you can see why he would be under that spell. The agreement, the marriage. Moving on, Anthony Joshua. I hear a lot of people, and I'm not saying this after the event. I'm not going to be smart after the event. I'm going to tell you right now. This fight between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua is one that should be concerning. Because, remember I said to you before, there's going to be a weight cut clause. Joshua's last fight was at 252 pounds. Now, for this fight, he's got to come in at 245 pounds. So, believe it or not, a heavyweight is going to get weight drained. 1. 2. How much time has Joshua got to prepare for the Jake Paul fight? And how much time has Jake had to prepare for this fight? 2. 3. I'm hearing other parts of the story where Joshua cannot intimidate Jake Paul, right? So in the stipulations, he can't make it look as if like he can't intimidate Jake Paul, right? The next thing is Joshua mustn't be overly aggressive or look to knock Jake Paul out with one punch. It's in the contract. In the contract. Which leads me nicely into the whole of this conversation tonight about pay per view. I'm asking a very serious question, and some people are not going to like me asking this question, but here it goes. When you pay per, look, when I go to buy a can of baked beans, right? When I go to buy, you're going to hear this in other channels. Watch this. But this is a Bwtm Sports trademark comment. So if you hear it on any other channel, you know you heard it first here, right? Listen to this. If I go to whatever supermarket and I want to buy a can of baked beans, if I open a tin, I expect a can of baked beans, right? If I go to the market, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna come back to you, ST. When I go to the market and I decide to buy bananas, I expect to get bananas. When I go to get sweet potato, I expect to get sweet potato. Is the way it looks. When I go to buy water, I will get different brands of water and different levels of acidity, fine, whatever. But I'm still going to get water. Let me give you this, right? When I want to buy tomato ketchup, this is what I'm expecting to see. Right, different brands, but this is it. Tomato ketchup I expect to see. I pay for a product, so I expect that product to be at its best or near its best. There's a sell-by date. I can see what I'm going to buy. With pay-per-view, you're paying to view what? What are you paying to see? Are you paying to see dehydrated fighters? Are you paying to see fighters that have had little time to prepare for the fight? Are you paying fighters that have already conceded because they've been paid so much money that they are not going to fight competitively? Are you paying to see fighters that have switched trainers and not dedicated to the sport? Are you paying fighters that have lost the hunger for the sport? Ask yourself that question. Think about it. Think about it. If we get any idiots in the room, please do block them, report them, and let YouTube deal with them and close their channels down. Think about it for a second. And isn't that something that trading standards should look at? Because, okay, if I'm going to see Eubank Ben 2, Eubank Jr. versus Ben 2, or Eubank Jr. versus Ben, I expect to see the same Eubank that fought Liam Smith the second fight, which is well hydrated. I'm expecting to see Ben come up the two weight divisions, as he said he would, no problems. When we saw Crawford versus Canelo, we saw Canelo come in at whatever weight you wanted to come in at, and we saw Crawford fight. And we saw the guy with the better skills win the fight. Weight wasn't the issue in the end. Skills paid the bills. Okay? So you tell me. If guys are weight drained and like there is clear disadvantages or advantages, or guys fighting his hometown, dodgy referees, what exactly are you paying for? You're paying to be deceived. It's not pay-per-view. Pay for deception. Because ultimately you're not getting what's on the... It's like me going to buy this tomato ketchup now. It says tomato ketchup on it. And I open it up and inside there's got plasma or bloody blood in there. Nothing to do with tomato ketchup. It looks like tomato ketchup until I got a taste of. Hey, this ain't what I ordered. This is not what I bought. And there's many times boxing fans will look and go, hey, I I didn't like when we're watching Eubank Ben 2 and watching the way Eubank's moving around the ring, we go like, nah, this ain't the guy that fought. This guy, when's he gonna start throwing punches? So the guys, I don't know what was wrong with Eubank that night. Somebody say, oh yeah, he was fighting like that so he could get a third fight like that. No. That was for no third fight. I mean, I've heard people say things like when Pacquiao fought Marquez and he got knocked out by Marquez, they're like, oh yeah, Pacquiao did that deliberately. No, he didn't. He walked onto one. And Marquez saw him from the last fight and was practicing that punch in the gym and then knocking Pacquiao out with a punch. So, yeah. Let me come back now to what people are saying in the room. It might be too late for Yarde. It reminds me of Sullivan Barrera. Abel Sanchez destroyed his career after he left to work with Derek. He got a lot better, but his punch resistance was already gone. Yeah, that can happen. Hi, Ingram. And the chat. AJ needs to get the bag and then retire. Yarde needs to stop getting his lions in the camp, and pay-per-view is rubbish now. Any old fights being put on pay-per-view nowadays. Okay. LOL. Trading standards. Ha 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 ha. Ingram, you're killing me. I don't, but think about it. If you went to trading standards, just for a second, if you went to trading standards and I took, if you went and got your tomato ketchup today and you went there and you went inside there and you bought it from, let's say in this case, Morrison's. I didn't buy it from Morrison's, actually. This was ordered in from Amazon Fresh. But anyway, if you took this tomato ketchup, bottle of tomato ketchup, and then you open it up and you saw flipping, I don't know, bloody frogs swimming in it, you'd have a case for trading standards. Say, this is not what you've advertised. That's all I'm saying. Basically, conning the fans can be challenging to remain in love with this boxing these days, sadly. This is what I'm saying. Trading standards. Are you getting what you think you're getting? So many people think Anthony Joshua's going to knock out Jake Paul inside the first round, and if he doesn't do it, then Joshua's like, it's a fix. But hold on a second. That only works if Joshua's allowed to be Anthony Joshua, right? And he's allowed to throw as many hard punches as he wants, and he can render Jake Paul unconscious. But if it says in the contract, Jake Paul, if you knock out or knock down Jake Paul, you will get your 70 or 90 million pounds pulled from your bank account. We will not pay you. The money will come straight to our bank account. Then, and let's just say this for 1 second, people. Let's not fool ourselves. Mike Tyson, in that first round, could have knocked Jake Paul out. Go back and look at the fight carefully. Go back and see when Mike throws the left jab into Jake and stumbles Jake against the ropes. And Jake pulls him in going, do you know what that was? Mike, you're messing up the bag. You're messing up the bag. Why do you think Mike was biting his glove and holding his glove like, why is he doing that? Because Mike all his career has been taught, when this guy does this, you do that. And he's been spending his whole career knocking guys out. So when Mike was tempted to let it go because he got hit with a shot to retaliate, couldn't retaliate. Because he'd been told, if you retaliate, you will lose the bag. Why are you going to lose the bag? For what? 70 million? If you're going to lose the bag, well, why did you sign the contract in the first place? Pay-per-view. That's all I'm saying, people. Pay-per-view. You're right on the money, Bayloric. I'm holding it there. Do you think the Jake Paul AJ fight is somewhat similar to Canelo Chavez fight, where Canelo made sure to kill Chavez on the scales before that fight? Possible. Is the earth flat? I don't know, mate. Go and take a look. Have a walk and see what happens. See, have a look and see if the Earth is flat. The last time I checked when I went outside, the Earth was pretty flat to me. I don't know. Uh, the Eubank Ben 2 fight was sad and stupid. For Eubank Image winning the first fight and letting that loser tell you what weight the rematch should be at. Well, just those are just things I'm telling you about. I'm thinking about. So all the fights that have been out, they tried to kill Benavidez. Did you see how bad his weight cut was against Yard? No, no. Benavidez said he came in 190 pounds against Yard. 190 pounds. He was 190 pounds when he fought Yard. Bro, 190 pounds. Has Yard fought anybody who was weighing 190 pounds? I think, to me, Yard boxed like he was scared. He looked like he was genuinely scared. He boxed like a guy who was genuinely scared of Benavidez. What do I think's next for Yard? Well, you know what's going to happen to Yard, don't you? You know what's going to happen. Bwtm versus Yard. You know what's going to happen. You know they've got to make that fight. Why have they got to make that fight? Because Bwtm looked absolute garbage in his last fight. And Yard got knocked out in his last fight. So, yeah, let them two fight. Let them two fight. Um, and the winner, maybe, the winner goes and fights Bivol. But, nah. Of course they can do that, bro. Yes. Yes. They're both with the same promoter now, right? They're both with the same promotional team now. That fight's going to happen. I'm telling you, bro, that fight is going to happen. They're going to let Yard heal up, and it's going to be Bwtm versus Yard. I'm telling you. And it will probably be on pay-per-view. Yes. 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 And then, wait for it, you're probably going to get Tyson Fury against Alexander Usyk 3. Probably going to get that fight next. Yep. And then let's see what happens with Joshua. Because if Joshua beats Jake Paul, then that might be his world title eliminated to fight Wardley. But I think Wardley's going to fight Dubois. That's why I think Dubois pulled out the Sanchez fight. So Wardley fights Dubois. They keep the belt in camp. So you say you talk about Dubois coming back right at the top. Yeah, come back right at the top. 2099, yeah. Usyk won both fights. What's the point of a third fight? Well, okay, who else can Fury fight now? Usyk fight now. That's going to bring in that amount of money. Tell me. Nobody. I think a rematch with Usyk, with Fury, Usyk, I think it's going to happen. Fury thinks he won two. There you go. Jake Paul versus Usyk. If Paul keeps fixing fights. Etama versus Usyk. Bro, that's fantasy talk. That's undisputed talk, yeah? That's not happening. A number of reasons. One, what has Itama won? What does he bring to the table? A win over Dillian White? Is that what he brings to the table? Is that what he brings to the table? Ah, I don't know. People, I don't know. Man, I don't know. I don't know. I hope Jermaine Franklin isn't going to come and lie down though. I hope he's going to come and give a proper fight. They can't. They can build it as legend versus upcoming rising star. Why would you do that? Why would you do that when you could fight Big Mouth Fury? Who'll sell the fight again. I don't know what Fury's been doing. They'll sell the fight again. More money in it. Say you got robbed and then fight again. 3 fights. That's what'll happen. And it won't even be for undisputed. And think about this for a second. Usyk gives the WBO belt over, and then if he beats Fury, he either retires or he has a fight against WBO champion. Can you imagine if Dubois were to beat Wardley? Then you could have Dubois versus Usyk 3. It's now or never. And don't laugh about that. It's now or never. He beat him the first time with controversy. The second time he beat him without no controversy. But can Usyk, at 45 years old, and Dubois, the younger man, can he make those wrongs right? I laugh, but there's a serious... It's true. Hey, listen. And the next thing, sadly, Turkey just playing with Ajit Kabayel career. What is he doing fighting Damien Cannonball? Cannonball has done nothing to get that fight. No, he hasn't. Until Dubois stops looking at his dad mid-fight, I will always be never. Yeah, well, I told you about Dubois. Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. He's had the great fall. All the King's sources, all the King's men, Sam Jones, and all the rest of the experts will be able to put Humpty together again. Yeah. Right. And to be honest, there's one guy, I think, there's two guys I need to put in the ring together. Jarrell Miller and Hughie Fury. Those two need to go in the ring together and fight. You know why? Because has Hughie Fury ever fought a guy that's got a personality? Like, seriously. Like, has he ever fought anybody who's had a personality? Like, but this guy now, I think he's going to fight a guy called Webster on the weekend. I think Webster, he's trained by, I think he's trained by Curtis Woodhouse. He's saying he's going to knock out Hughie Fury. Well, that'd be good. Hughie Fury needs to be in fights that somebody wants to throw a cheer at him. He needs that. His fights are dull otherwise. Joseph makes a good point. What is happening with Kabayel? What do you think is happening with Kabayel? What do you think is happening with anybody who's decent and is about the business? You mentioned Kabayel for years. I've been talking about Kabayel for years. I said, Tyson Fury, keep well away from that man. When Fury is talking about, yeah, I'll fight Kabayel, I said, you keep your ass quiet and go and fight Wilder. Kabayel will give you all that you don't want. And what Kabayel will do when he fights Fury is stick the jab in the chest and go digging at Fury's body. He'll punch Fury's body up, man. He'll break Fury down to the body. Honestly. How many guys you see fight you go to Fury's body or are skilled enough to go to Fury's body? I said this a long time ago. Kabayel's all wrong for Tyson Fury. I said it then. I'll say it now. Dubois will pay the price for leaving Don Charles. Dubois will pay the price for being unwilling to make changes. Technical changes. He's being blackballed for beating who he's not supposed to beat. Yeah, but that's what happens. That's what happened to Joseph Parker. As Joseph Parker started talking some stuff from the side of his mouth he shouldn't have been talking about. How he don't trust promoters and all this stuff. Alright, mate, we got something for you. So you see where he is now. And he's got done for cocaine, right? Okay. Well, that's the end of his career. Don Charles, not a fan of him personally. Good trainer, but a little bit arrogant. I guess that's what makes him a good trainer, though. If you like your coffee that way, then fine. I think as a trainer, you have to be careful that your actions don't have repercussions on your fighters. See, when you make statements, just be sure that you and your fighter are prepared to deal with those consequences. And in the aftermath, particularly in this era of social media, in the aftermath, let the legacy of the things you say be something you can hold your hands up to and say, yeah, I am that man. Because when you say certain things on social media, people already have their ideas of what you're about. Don't endorse those ideas by saying things that people say, yeah, I told you he's like this, I told you he's like that, I told you you shouldn't have him as a trainer. Why do you want him as a trainer? If yeah, not just Don Charles, there's a few of them. Why do you want him as your trainer? He doesn't know what to say in press conferences. Where he says things in press conferences, it spectacularly backfires on his fighter. I told you the minute he ended that press conference with Usyk saying, "Who's your god?" and "You're a liar" and all this stuff. What kind of religious man are you? The minute he said, Don Charles said those words, I said, Dubois is cooked. He's gonna get something special waiting for him. That left hand from hell. That left hand came from. That left hand's from the back of the arena, and Dubois didn't see it. But that was coming, and you've got to study fighters. You've got to study fighters. Certain fighters you can rile, and certain fighters you. And I will say this much from my study of Benavidez. I think Benavidez is a better fighter when he's mad, and he's mad at you, than when he has to get mad. Because I thought Benavidez was sloppy against Yarde. He didn't seem the same. He was very eager to get the fight done, but he looked sloppy doing it. I think he looked tighter against, what's this guy's name? The guy he fought before. Are you implying Don Charles didn't protect Dubois enough? I'm implying that left hand that Dubois got knocked out by was inspired by his comments. That's what I'm saying to you. Don Charles is a big mouth. Dubois needs to go back to Uncle Bashir and never leave. Keep his father far away. Yeah, I think. You see, when you take on this is another thing that people don't understand. When you decide to take a trainer on for their wisdom and their knowledge and their understanding, you also have to take into consideration their character with that. What I mean by their character, the things that they will say, and they're going to tell you stuff you don't want to hear. And Bashir will tell you things you don't want to hear about yourself. But that's what makes you a better fighter, because he'll tell you, look, that's not acceptable, that crap won't work, that's not going to work, that don't work, you need to do this, I think you're really great here. They tell you the truth. And that's why these guys are able to go on and produce the champions. But a lot of people don't want that. The people want lip service and yes men. And you honestly, listen, just sit down for a second and give your heads a little wobble a second. Joshua's gone to where? To Usyk's trainer. To train him. And you're telling me that Usyk's trainer is going to make Joshua a much better fighter in one fight? Are you serious? Look at Anthony Joshua when he started his career and look at Anthony Joshua's career now. Where's the big improvements? Look at Joshua Bwtm's career then and Joshua Bwtm's career now. Where's the big improvements? Then look at Callum Smith's career when he was under Joe Gallagher. Listen, Joe Gallagher's a good trainer at a certain level. Gallagher will get you British, Commonwealth, European. Gallagher's one of them, man. You remember that time when Gallagher would have like about 10 British champions? Yeah, Gallagher, on a night he'd have 10 British champions. Joe Gallagher, right there. But then he went and he left. He went to Buddy McGirt, Callum Smith. You see, he's a better fighter now. The adjustments were made. So Callum Smith moved from British European, then he went to World Honours. I think he didn't he win the Super Series with Joe Gallagher? Did he? I'm not sure. I can't remember. Joe Gallagher's a good trainer though. Good trainer. Maybe someone Adam Booth I think would be good. For who? Hell no. Hell no. Hell no. Adam Booth for Dubois. Hell no. That's crazy talk. When you talk about, again, characters, Booth is very psychological. He's a thinker. He's a thinker. A guy like Booth is going to slow Dubois down. And Dubois has already got slow feet. So Dubois will be like this. Jab. Slip to the side. Nah, man. Booth is too complex. No. Keep that away. Keep. No. And you look at Booth's fighters. Booth likes guys that are, yeah. Booth likes guys who've got fast hands, good punching power, and good footwork, so they can slide in and slide out. Booth is literally Mr. Hit and don't get hit. So forget Adam Booth. Bashir would be good because he would slow things right down. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to think anymore. After the Vlad Tsarenko fight, I don't know what to say. I can't. I still cannot get over that Vlad Tsarenko fight, man. Unpopular opinion: AJ rushed too much to get rid of McCracken. He's still good for AJ. I don't know about that. I think that well, he got knocked out under McCracken, Andy Ruiz. That was bad matchmaking. I still don't. Like Lennox Lewis said, McCracken. Who's McCracken trained at heavyweight? Name me one good heavyweight McCracken's trained. Heavyweight boxing is very different. You got to know your trainers, man. In AJ, in my opinion, AJ should have gone like someone like two guys. I think should have gone to Derek James, Deontay Wilder, and Anthony Joshua. If any of those two guys had gone to Derek James, they would have been very good today. Because James teaches defense. He teaches attack, but he teaches defense too. Yeah, James is good. I got Jake Paul causing an upset. Yeah, probably. If Jake Paul is able to reduce the weight of Anthony, he's got to come in on like 100, 242 pounds. And then he's not allowed to throw heavy punches. And he's not allowed to knock Jake Paul down. But on the flip side, Jake can throw whatever he wants. And that's like a sparring session. But Jake's probably going to go for the knockout. Jake will move around the ring. 8 rounds. I don't know, man. He did win the WBS. Yeah, with Joe Gallagher. He did. Let's see. Let's see what's going on here. Wow, there's a lot. There's a lot going on here. Wow. Uh, AJ's a calamity. Adam Booth and Hay, great combination. Yeah, because Booth and Hay's a very guys are very. You know, I've got a theory about David Hay. I've got a theory about him. Who then? I can see Booth making Dubois into aggression machine. No, because Booth doesn't train that way. Booth doesn't train that way. Booth is a guy that is very psychological. Booth is a guy that will tell you, like, look at what he did with Groves, for example. When he had George Groves, Groves was a hothead. You forget George Groves, and Booth would wear different tops. So like, he'd wear a blue top for George to be cool and box, and then he'd use a red top if you had to go out there and steamroll the guy and get him out of there. Yeah, that's the kind of guy Booth is. And then you look at where he used to fight, Hay used to fight. You never see Gay just go out there and try and blast the guy out. What you do is Hay would pick his shots, and because he's a big puncher, he'd find the shot, boom, and then land and knock the guy out. But he wanted the guy to just run across the ring and throw punches. And Dubois got too much going on up here. You imagine Booth giving him all the instructions and then him looking at the corner to his dad. His dad should be his trainer. That's the best trainer that Dubois should have, is his dad. Because he looks straight to his dad. Give Dubois to Tunde. Dubois and Tunde used to work together before. They used to work together before, Dubois and Tunde. I am so sorry to say this, Ingram, but I think Bashir is finished. That Vlad performance was shocking. I said that already, but I can also say to you that if you go back and look at camp, right? When I was in camp with Vlad Serenko and James Eder Bashir, go and look at that camp again, and I asked Bashir one question: what is that guy on the pads doing with Serenko? He's doing completely opposite to what you should be doing. And Bashir said, well, Vlad likes it. And right there is a good explanation as to what we got now. Nothing to do with Bashir at all. I think that's all on Vlad and himself. Haney looked good. I knew he'd win. I was concerned. I think ST, we were talking about the Haney fight. And I said, if Haney can take or negotiate the power of Norman, he beats Norman because he's got better boxing ability. You're spot on about the coaching, Baylor. I remember Antonio Tarver said that he hates Buddy McGirt, but he's the one guy that he knew when he needed to get ready for a fight, he knew he could go to Buddy. Yeah. Why do you need to like your trainer? Why? Listen, my trainer, my ex-trainer, my pro trainer, trained Steve Robinson. Steve Robinson was WBO featherweight champion of the world, came in on 24 hours notice to become WBO featherweight champion of the world. He eventually got beat by the great Prince Nazim Hamed. But yeah, Ronnie Rush was my trainer from Wales. So yeah, and I hated Ronnie. I hated him with a passion. I didn't like that guy. For one day, I liked that. Didn't like him. He was horrible, absolutely horrible. But he did what he was trained to get you in shape. You're not there to like one another. I have always rated Haney. I completely disagree with you about Derek James. I believe he's one of the worst trainers in the sport. One of the worst trainers in the sport. He had, what, 2 undisputed champions in his camp. Worst trainers in the sport. I could tell you a whole host of other guys. But okay, you're probably going to tell me that, what's his name? Robert Garcia is a great trainer to him. At one point, he had two undisputed fighters in his camp. And you're calling... Bro, come on, man. You need to behave for that talk, man. You trainer of the year for 2 years running. Bro, you need to stop that talk straight away. Absolutely. Hay is weird. Almost as weird as Dubois. Nah, he's not that weird. I've got a theory about Hay. I'll come back to you in a minute. Adam Booth, he would have to tell... He told Mike... he told Mike Perez rapido. He told Jennings that he told Perez to relax and calm down when he was fighting Jennings, and Jennings was beating the brakes off of him. I don't know that Dubois had the good sense to get away. His sister had the sense to get away. That's why she's no longer there. But Bashir should take charge and let Vlad listen to him. Wow. You would think that, but go and look at the video. Go and look at the camp. Go and look at Vladimir and Bashir in camp. I went to Germany and spent 2 days in Germany. Go and check it out. Wow, Joseph, I had the opposite view to you. I think Derek James is a legend, amazing trainer. So do I. Yeah, he did lose to Naz badly. He did, but there's lots behind that fight. For that fight against Steve Robinson, I think Steve Robinson had, it was either a wedding or funeral, and they forced him to fight. Like, I think he had to take the fight with 4 weeks' notice or something stupid like that. So he didn't train the way he should have trained for the fight. Full credit to Naz though. In Wales, yeah. I reckon Bwtm is looking at the Benavidez fight. Benavidez can revive, but he could do. Robert Garcia is not a good trainer. Errol Spence was completely manufactured career, completely hype job. Hype job. Bro. Well, everyone's entitled to opinion. I don't agree with you. If Beterbiev beats Benavidez, he's feared again, but he won't. He won't because to beat because what look look at what Callum Johnson did against Beterbiev. He dropped him, right? Because he put his back against the ropes. Benavidez will use the jab on Beterbiev. He'll use his jab, step it back, and take the fight to him. And he'll throw the punches that Bivol won't throw. He'll take the chances. And he'll stop. I think he can stop Beterbiev. Because Beterbiev's old as well, man. He's old. He'll stop him. Now he'll stop him. A few years back, maybe not, but he'll stop him now. He'll stop him now. He'll stop him. He'll completely neutralise him. Spence isn't a hype job. Very good boxer. Just came up against a potential pound for pound fighter in the world's best Crawford. No. I would turn around and say that when you're talking about let me see. Yeah, when he fought Spence, yeah, mate, you need to go back and look at Spence. Spence went through 2 car crashes and eye surgery. Bro, come on, man. That was not no. Spence's career is more or less finished through drinking as well. Uh, Better be if beats Bivol in my opinion. Now? No, no, not now, not now, not now. Age, age is the thing there. Bivol's smart. Age, I think is going to get him there. I agree. Better be was looking at that fight right now. Spence was good, but he pissed his away. Yeah, drink, drink, and more drink. Father time. Yeah, father time's the thing. But you see guys like him and Hopkins, they don't rely on speed, timings for those guys. So what? Look at what Derek James did with Frank Martin, Alicia Baumgartner, and Ryan Garcia. All looked shit under him. Hmm. 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 I look what he did. Look what he did for the Iron Man at light middleweight. Bivol is doing what Mayweather did to Pacquiao. Wait until the long man and then beat him. That's the plan. That's the plan. I I think you need to take. I think you also Alicia Baumgartner. What didn't Alicia Baumgartner and Ryan Garcia get caught for PEDs? And Frank Martin, he's a good fighter, but nobody's saying you know, Frank Martin's a good fighter, but Tank Davis is a very good fighter. And wasn't Frank Martin weight drained for that fight? God, you can't just look at one fighter or for one fight and a couple of fights say he's shit. You can't say that. That's just not right. You know, I don't agree with you there, mate. I can't agree with you on that. Really can't. Let's talk about Robert Garcia. If you want to go down that road, Charlo's success was because of John Guzman, not Derek. What Guzman? Who was the guy in the corner when the fights are being made? When the fights are happening? Yeah, because Garcia, trash. Teddy Atlas, trash. Who else? You know I'm right. You just don't like Derek James. I think Derek James is a good trainer. All right, let me give you another fight, another trainer. Virgil Hunter. I think Virgil Hunter is a good trainer, but I think Virgil Hunter is with certain trainers suit certain fighters. Atlas is just hype because he would scream at his fighters. Yep. Floyd Senior. Yeah, I think Floyd Senior worked with De La Hoya and he worked with Hatton. If you want to say something, what about when Floyd Senior went with Hatton? And then Hatton went and fought Pacquiao. What happened then? I don't know. I think to end this conversation, I'll say that fighters and trainers. There's matches. There's some trainers that get the best out of fighters, and there's some trainers that get the absolute worst out of fighters. And I just think that Virgil Hunter and Joshua Bwtm are not a good pairing. Virgil Hunter is very methodical, very soft speaking, very, very chilled. Very chilled. Motown singer, Very cool. Cool dude. Suave. And he's talking to Bwtm, who's half asleep most of the time when he fights. And he fights in... So he's just pacified Bwtm now. He's more pacified now. Now, Teddy Atlas might be better for Bwtm because he'd shout at him. I'll tell you another guy would be good for Bwtm. Adam Booth, I think, would do well for Bwtm because Bwatsy's got punching power. He's got decent speed, decent hand speed. Adam Booth would be good for Bwtm because Bwtm can punch. I think Bwtm can be explosive with his punching as well. The Booth would be good for him. Okay, here's a question for you, Ingram, and the chat. Who's the most underrated trainer of all time? Brendan Ingle. Brendan Ingle, without a shadow of doubt. Brendan Ingle. British, Commonwealth, European, world. Junior Witter, Johnny Nelson, Nassim Hamed. And then even at world level, European level. Ryan Rhodes. God, so many guys came in out of gym. So many fighters came in out of gym. Was it Pele Reid, British champion? God. Yeah. Absolutely. Number one for me. Till this day in this country, he's still the best trainer we've got in this country. The Irishman. Bwtm needs Sugar Hill. Oh, no he doesn't. No he doesn't. No he doesn't. 10 years in Errol Spence's career, that is the best you could do against Sean Porter. Wow. Oh, that's pretty, bro. That's kind of harsh, man. That's kind of harsh because that Porter still had something in him. That was the Porter that gave Thurman life and death, man. No, but you can't, no, bro. You can't say that about Sean Porter, man. Come on. That's harsh. Oh, yeah, I forgot Brendan Ingle, rest in peace, of course. I think he trained Amir Khan. Might have done as well. Agreed on Brendan Ingle. Joseph versus Spence on the next match from pay-per-view. You know what? I'm going to say his name. And I hate to say Roy Jones Jr. Yo, must have forgot. Roy Jones Jr. I don't know how good a trainer Roy is, He did a lot of stuff in his career that I'm seeing he's trying to teach other fighters. And I'm thinking, you're getting yourself knocked out fighting like Roy Jones Jr. But anyway, Roy Jones Jr. Huge question marks over Roy Jones Jr. as a trainer. Huge question marks. Great speaker, great fighter, nice rapper, great personality, wise about the sport. I'm not sure how good a trainer he is, though. I really don't know how good a trainer Roy Jones Jr. is. Huge question marks. Who was Amir Khan's trainer? Not Freddie Roach. That guy. Was it a Mexican guy? Was it a Mexican guy that had? Guys, you all in room. Smash the like button while you're in room, please. How disrespectful. All you guys in the room, not even one person smashed the like button. What is going on here? Guys, this is unacceptable. Virgil Hunter, yeah. No, before Virgil Hunter. Who's the trainer before Virgil Hunter? There's that black guy. What was his name? From that part of the world as well. I can't remember his name again. I can see him now. Roy Jones' training record is not looking the best. LOL. So Roy's got to be up there. Roy, Malik Scott. I have to call the name out because I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Malik Scott, him. Sugar Hill's questionable as well. Very questionable. Oh yeah, he did well with Tyson Fury, did he? He didn't beat Usyk. 2 times they went, and 2 times they didn't beat Usyk. He's only Tyson Fury's become a one-trick pony. He gets beat by, he draws against Wilder. He puts some more weight. He tries to go forward and start bullying fighters, and that's it. That's Tyson Fury now. When you I think an underrated trainer is Peter Fury. Most underrated trainer right now, Jamie Moore. Did you see the fight with Dave Allen? I'm not so sure. Ingram, I googled it. You're thinking of Jorge Ribeiro, who was with Khan for a bit. You mean the same Jorge Ribeiro that chose Prescott to fight Khan? And then Frank Warren said, who, who brought this guy in? Frank was fuming that night. Frank was fuming. Frank did his really best impression of Alex Ferguson. Do you know, I used to love when Man United used to play football and they'd lose a match. And Ferguson's face would be so red, especially in the winter. His face would be so red and he'd be going down the tunnel, he wouldn't give any interviews. Like, Frank did a real Ferguson. He had a Ferguson moment where, because it was the trainer, Rubio, that recommended Khan fight Prescott. I'm going to go back and watch the fight again tonight just to see Frank for the interview afterwards. That's so funny. I like Frank, by the way. I do like Frank Warren. I do like him. Um, yeah. Ribeiro. Oh, Rubio. Roger Mayweather. Nothing wrong with him. The Breeders' Chaos Brew. Frank Warren was like... yeah, worst trainers. There are a few other names I might bring up there. Dave Allen's a victim of his own success. Oh, he's a victim of his own BS. Dave Allen. I think Don Charles is very underrated. If you think about it, Don Charles, underrated trainer. British, Commonwealth, European, world. No, world, yeah. He won the British, Commonwealth, and European with Chisora. He won the world title with Dubois. Ronnie Davis. I like Ronnie's, man. I love Ronnie. Love Ronnie. I know Ronnie personally. I love Ronnie. I love Ronnie. Love Ronnie. I cannot see Ronnie for 3, 4, 5 years, and I'll see him. I'll go down to Brighton. I'll bump into Ronnie. I'll go, hello, young man. How you doing? Yeah, Ronnie. Ronnie, my trainer was in Brighton. Love Ronnie. Good people. Yeah, good trainer, Ronnie. Great. Well, look, look. Ronnie Davis was with Chris Eubank, innit? So, yeah. Ronnie Davis, of course. And I liked, do you know a trainer I really liked? I like Jimmy Tibbs. Mark Tibbs is a good trainer too. Mark Tibbs. Look what Mark Tibbs did with Dillian White. Look what Mark Tibbs did with Dillian White. Dillian White has not looked better. Mark Tibbs was the man for Dillian White. He was perfect for Dillian White. Perfect for Dillian White. Mark Tibbs, very good trainer. And back in the day, Jimmy Tibbs. Jimmy Tibbs with pads, man. I saw what Jimmy Tibbs would do with Ben, man. Tibbs got Ben into Ben went on the pads. He was in phenomenal shape, Nigel Ben. Yeah, Tibbs. Tibbs the pad man, they used to say. You know who is a wonderful trainer? I love him. Andy Lee. Wow, wow. Andy Lee. Love Andy, man. Andy's got sense. Andy's got sense, but I've got some questions to ask Andy Lee as to 2 fights. The Joe Joyce fight and the Wardley fight, and what was going on with Joseph Parker's weight in those 2 fights. And was it his decision for Parker to blow up in weight, or was it because Parker was doing things out of camp and put, like, 2 guys, or 1 guy, I know Derek James, when Errol Spencer's out of camp, it's not Derek James's business. Only when he comes to the camp, Derek's on him. There are trainers like that. And then there are other trainers, like a James Bashir, that when you're out of camp, he wants to know what the hell you're doing. So, yeah. Shane McGuigan. he talks a good game, McGuigan, and he knows boxing. We'll see where Shane McGuigan is. He's got Caroline Dubois and he's got Adam Azim. Let's see what he does with Adam Azim and Caroline Dubois before we talk about Shane McGuigan. He's one of them ones we got to wait and see. Wait and see. Yeah. Shane McGuigan is like Ben Davidson with a bit of more boxing knowledge. Yeah, well, no, I'm not going 50-50. If you're going to give me Ben Davidson, you're going to give me McGuigan. I'm going to go 70-30 in favour of Shane McGuigan. Because at least Shane McGuigan is going from ground up. I think, kind of. He's got guys in gym and starting from scratch and working with them. Well, not from scratch, but from the pro into the pro game. I think Ben Davidson's already got guys who have been world champions. So I think it's a big difference there. I go McGuigan. So McGuigan's for me. McGuigan, yeah. McGuigan's more believable for me. McGuigan just seems a lot more. He seems more logical to me. Like, he's not going to give me airy fairy stuff or stuff that I say, right, A, B, C, D. McGuigan's that kind of guy. McGuigan's going to go A, B, C, D. Whereas Davidson might go A, E, F, C, Q, and then turn and say to you, yeah, well, yeah, that works. And you ask him if it works, just don't worry about it, just trust me on it, it works. That's what kind of guy I think Ben Davidson is, where McGuigan's like A, B, C, D, A, then B, then C, then D, and I think that's why McGuigan works. I don't think McGuigan goes outside the box. That's not a bad thing. I think McGuigan's got a way of training, and that's the way it is. But Davidson, I think I won't say I'm not going to say a wing and a prayer, but I think Davidson's more of a wingman. And I'm more convinced of him being. Like, by the way, I want you to go back and watch Anthony Joshua training, and I want you to watch him throwing uppercuts. Like, I mean, the only time I've seen people throw uppercuts like that was on an arcade machine in the arcade game. Like, if you throw uppercuts like that, you're gonna get knocked out. And by the way, he's throwing those uppercuts. It wasn't an uppercut like that he got knocked out with by Dubois, and he's gone back in the gym throwing that same stupid uppercut again. I told you. Anyway, I said there's certain people I'm done with in boxing. The two people I say I'm done with in boxing is Anthony Joshua and Anthony Yarde, because they don't seem to learn their lesson. So I've said it already. Davidson was helped by Fury. Well, Davidson helped Fury get back in shape, right? That's fair. He did good with Frampton and Luke Campbell. When there goes guys at the end of their careers. Sports Direct Davis. Don Charles for Yarde. David Hayes should be manager. Nah, man. Don can't do anything with Yarde now. Don can't do anything. Don Charles is the British version of Virgil Hill. Virgil Hunter. When you get bashed up, you got a Don Charles. McGuigan conditioning training is spot on. Okay. Davidson wouldn't be famous if he worked for Fury. Well, and he worked with Devin Haney as well, didn't he? He got lucky with Fury. Kickstart his training career. A guy who I think is very underrated in this country, and there's two. A guy who's underrated as a trainer in this country is Peter Fury. And I think a guy that does and should do a lot more talking in the spotlight. Listen, I'm going to close on this, yeah? I'm going to close on this point, right? Sometimes I don't bother watching the pay-per-view, but I watch Talk Sport. And I'm sorry. When I watch Talk Sport and I watch Gareth A. Davis, I can't. It's like all the hand signals in the background and all the stuff he's doing in the background is so distracting. And let me tell you something. I don't understand why you've got Gareth A. Davis, never boxed, or never fought, never won a world title. You've got Spence Oliver, never won a world title, never fought for a world title. What's his name? Adam Cattrall, Lovely guy. Never fought for a world title. Never. I don't think he's ever an amateur bout. Uh, John Rawlings a legend. So leave John Rawling where he is, right? Why is it that Duke McKenzie is not on that team? Why is Duke McKenzie not on the Talksport team for big fights? Why? Somebody asked me that question. Why? Duke McKenzie is very wise. Three-weight world champion. Three-weight world champion. When they had killers around in them days. Why is Duke McKenzie not on Talk Sports? I'm sorry, but John Rawling, legend. Spence Oliver, mate of Anthony Joshua. Yeah, at the highest level, you can't put Spence Oliver and Duke McKenzie in the same room together. So why is he not commentating? It's not like he understands the sport very well. Why is he not commentating? Can you do an undisputed stream tonight in gameplays? Yeah, I got to get Bruno off. I got to get Bruno off the canvas. Lost his first fight. Will I get guys? This is unacceptable. 3 likes. Nah, this is not on, man. Smash that like button, please. What happened to Peter Fury's Irish heavyweight? Conor Sheehan. It was Conor Sheehan and Boots Ennis. They used to be on the channel together. For those of you who are new to the channel, Boots Ennis and Conor Sheehan both were on the channel. I think he had a girlfriend that took him away from boxing or something like that. Duke is too raw and too real for Talksport LOL. People would appreciate that rawness and realness. Wait, how can he be too raw and too real when you've got Glasses Simon Jordan in there? Simon Jordan's never taken a punch in anger, and he's the oracle of boxing, Simon Jordan. So you tell me, and he's telling people what's good and not good, and who's deserving, who's not deserving. And he's the judge. He's the big judge. He's Judge Dredd of Talk Sport for boxing. Look, I like Simon Jordan. I've got nothing wrong with him. But Duke McKenzie is the guy that we need to be hearing more of. Not these guys. Not these guys. The reason why Duke McKenzie isn't there is because he isn't a name. Remember, it's not who you know, it's what you... It's not what you know, it's who you know. He isn't a name. 3-weight world champion. I don't agree with you on that one, bro. I think there's a bigger agenda than that. In my opinion. Like, even Paul Smith, right? Paul Smith might not have been a world champion. He won the British Championship. I like to hear from Paul Smith. He talks a lot of sense. Even have a trainer in there talking. I'd like to have, if I would talk sport, I would have a trainer among them talking, right? For talk sport, I have a trainer in there and a world class fighter or a previous fighter who's won championships at different weights. And depending on who's fighting, they bring the expert in who's fought at that weight division. Flipping out, I don't want. I listen. I've got nothing against talk sport guys, but I get hugely revolted on a Saturday night listening to them talk. Honestly, they need some diversity up in there in talk sport because it's not representative of the boxing community. 1 and 2, they need some experts in there that actually are boxers or from a boxing community. I'm sorry, there are actually boxing coaches that can give you an in-depth view of things, not a man from a pub having a conversation. Because what's the difference between me and you listening in and the guy at the pub from Talk Sport? In honesty, there isn't. Gad? Come on, man. Come on. Not on. They're cool with Simon Jordan saying that because he's a white guy. I like Simon too, lol. Yeah, exactly. You know what it is. Peter Fury would be good on Talk Sport or some sort of commentary, but they might not let him in because of his traveller background. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's not on. Not on. Not on. Not acceptable. Well, they might not put Hamid on either, and Hamid was amazing. Prince Nazim Hamid was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Um, there are guys in boxing that you can sit down and listen to. Like, if you were to ask Terence Crawford to break down a fight, he'd be a brilliant commentator. A brilliant commentator. Do you know why? Because he knows the game. I remember spending calling Crawford. Before all people talk about Crawford now, I sat down. I had two 50-minute interviews with Terence Crawford, right? I think the two still the longest interviews on YouTube. Go and listen to them. And I sat down. I called his house to get those interviews with Terence Crawford. His house. I talked to Terence about the sport of boxing. I didn't talk. I wasn't fanboying him. There's too many fanboys today in boxing community. They're not asking the right questions. They're not asking the right question to bring out the best in the fighters. You don't get to hear about how these guys really break down fights. So Crawford knew about his greatness before he even fought Ricky Burns. He knew about his greatness when he fought Prescott. That's to tell you. That's to tell you about these guys. These guys are great, man. These guys are great, but they don't get the opportunities. And a guy who's guys like who's just got a bit of problem with his speaking, but I think people are quite funny now. But Crawford, he'd be amazing. Hey, won't ask you the hard hitting questions because they know they won't get another opportunity to ask questions again because boxers will complain. That's the reason why me and Don Charles don't talk anymore. That's what it is. Because I said some stuff which wasn't below the belt. It was straight up. Asked a straight up question about, obviously Derek Chisor's left. Derek Chisor's left the gym now. He's gone to another trainer. How are you going to cope? Like, because Chisor is your star fighter. How are you going to cope now he's left? It was an honest question, and because of that, Don kicked off, and that's why me and Don don't talk anymore. And I went face to face and apologized to him. He still held a grudge against me, so I don't talk to him. I don't bother with him no more. But that's what it is. That's the truth. That's what it is. Yeah, Hamid would be hilarious. And if you want to talk about entertainment, I'm surprised that Hamid is not involved more in Saudi Arabia. He just said that at the time he felt that I was going below the belt, and that I betrayed his trust. Listen, I was asking questions, and it said, if you go back to old school Bayloric TV, I asked the questions that people wanted the answers to. That is what Bayloric TV was about. That is why Muhammad Ali's brother rang my house and asked me to interview him. Because I was asking the questions people want the answers to. That's why the likes of Keith Thurman, Terence Crawford, Boots Innes, they're ringing my house. Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury doing interviews with me when they wouldn't talk to the media. Those are sort of quality sort of interviews I was getting. Because fighters are able to express and say what they want to say. It's what it is. People want to be treated with a certain level of respect, and fighters want to be treated with a certain level of respect. And if you're being like, oh, asking questions like, what did you eat for breakfast today? Tell me how you're going to go about this opponent, and how does he differ from the last opponent, and what have you done in camp differently? And a lot of these guys can't ask questions because some of them have never boxed before. Some of them have never taken a punch in anger. They're asking these questions, these flipping fluffy questions. So if you ask fluffy questions, you get fluffy answers. And if you watch one interview, you've watched 1,000 interviews. Because basically they ask the similar questions. Oh, yeah, we had dinner this morning together, and how was your trip to the gym? Or how was your trip to the arena? Oh yeah, I see you got a nice watch now, or those are nice trains you got there. What the hell? That's nonsense. Absolute rubbish. You apologise. What more can you do? Not more. There's nothing more I'm gonna do. I love the Hamid clip when he told Kell Brook to retire. Yeah, six letter word. Wow, on Don Charles. This dude is really emotional. So this is how he is in real life. Crazy. Listen, I'm only saying it because I'm not saying it to out him or anything. It's what happened. It's just what it happened. And it was just an honest question I asked. An honest question. I wasn't trying to dig him out. That I think to if I look back honestly, the most difficult conversation I have to have the two most difficult conversation I had to have was with Tony Sisse talking about his good friend Ricky Hatton and all the memories they shared together, how he introduced Ricky to um, Oasis, and his memories he had of Ricky growing up boxing together and stuff in the GB team, and him there breaking down in tears. That was difficult. That was I ducked doing that interview like I ducked talking because and Tony was going. He's got his condition as well. Uh, he's a real fighter, Tony Sisse, and that was difficult to do. And the second most difficult interview to do was talking to Peter Fury after all those years and to talk about his nephew Tyson Fury openly, and the world's media's listened to everything, and it's in every newspaper afterwards, from the Sun to the Mirror to the Telegraph to the Times to over in America when they broke the whole story about Tyson being on cocaine, all that stuff. That was that was terrible. I hated it. So, oh yeah, great. You got a lot of views, and no, that's a family being destroyed right there. That was not a conversation I wanted to be having. That was a tough question to ask. So it's not all about clicks and views. It isn't. Seem to be sensitive any honest criticism. Nah, people don't want respect. John Charles wants softball questions, but then will question you talk about his love for his God and will respect you to do. I learnt my lesson with media when Floyd Mayweather was getting ready for Robert Carrera, and he made the media not ask him anything about Timothy Bradley. LOL. Yeah, that's like that. Though promoters are like that. It's just a sport that we're in, man. Nothing personal. Nothing personal against anybody. I don't hold any grudge against anybody. Just that even though there are quite a few people in boxing that have done me wrong or done me dirty when all I did was do them good. But you know what? You look at them and say, that's who they are. They're just showing you their face. So there's the expression they say, if somebody shows you their face the first time, believe them. That's it. So now you just leave these people to get on and find their path and find their way. It's not for me. I'm not interested in it. I'm glad I'm not involved in that anymore. I have no interest in getting back into all that stuff again. I did it. It was fun for a period of time. I don't mind doing the odd interview here, there, talking to people, talking to you guys, sharing my opinion for what it's worth. Cool, but no more, no more. The hours of editing videos, the trying to get interviews, the when you're doing interviews, all you get is ungrateful people after they listen to you. Or why did you say that? Why did you do that? And then you see the people doing the criticism and criticizing you. I'm all for constructive criticism, but bro, if you're gonna criticize me, let me see what you got on your channel. No views, no subscribers, but you're telling me how I should do an interview. I tell you what, why don't you go out and do it yourself? Why don't you go out and do it yourself? So now I got fed up of all that now. So yeah, I got fed up. Was it doing it for what, 10 years, something like that, maybe in between? Yeah, got fed up of it. And it's still more the same now. Just look across the YouTube universe now. There are a few people trying to ask hard questions, but in this era, they won't last like that. They'll get cut off. They won't get media access. You know the ones. So I say to you, if you ever went back to your Bayloric days, you would take over the boxing scene. And that's what they were afraid of, my friend. That's what they were afraid of from the very top. So they did all they could to derail me. But what they did, no. is that they created something far more unstoppable. We'll leave it as that. But yeah, it's fine. It's fine. You learn a lot. You learn a lot. And with situations like this, you know, these people make you stronger. They make you stronger. But there's some people they think that by doing certain things it's gonna break you. It'll make you. It's a compliment. It's a compliment if you want to get my channel shadow banned. It's a compliment that when I go to when I turn up to events or I turn up to events, another person, I'm not gonna say who they are, will get on the phone and say, he's here. It is it, when you turn up to a venue and you're doing your interviews and the other person gets on the phone and they go, guess what who's here? Guess who's here? Oh no, it's that Bayloric TV. Enough said. Enough said. Enough said. I listen. Or when you're doing interviews, people's literally big time, big time is stopping their interviews to check and see if you ask the questions or if they're going to take your questions and ask those questions. And this is not me talking. This is fact. And you'll see them on camera. You see them on camera, right? They have changed. You see them in camera walking. You'll see them walking. When one person's doing an interview, you'll see them walking past. Why are they walking past? Why is it every time, every other bloody interview you see on another person's channel, you'll see these people walking past? Why? Because they're listening to your interview, listening to your questions. So by the time they get round to asking their questions, they've thought about it and trying to change it a bit to make it sound as if they came up with those great questions. Careful, man. It's a nasty world out there. But the best way to do it, I think, still, the best way to do it is to meet them in the gyms and to catch them over the phone. That way you don't have to worry about lining up in a queue, line up for an hour to talk to a fighter, and then when you actually get to talk to the fighter, you can only ask 2 questions, or you go to these press conferences and you get a press guy telling you, right, you can ask this question, but you can't ask that question. Forget all that. Forget. I just bypassed all of that and did the interviews at home. That's how it was done. I think Boxing King Media asks good questions, to be fair. Yeah, he's good. He's very good. But he knows what he's doing. He's smart. He's smart. And the other thing about it is that he's gained respect. As I saying, oh yeah, he bought his views. What What do you think of Haney versus Norman Jr. this weekend? I think the results on YouTube. Right, let me get out of here now. But I will say this much. I thought that Haney, if you had, anytime you watch a fight with a puncher versus a boxer puncher, right? The first thing you'll look at is that puncher able to get his punches off against a higher skilled fighter that can move, who's got good movement, better IQ. 9 times out of 10, you're going to find a situation. Here's a very good example. Ainsley Bingham, right? Massive puncher, knocked guys out with one punch. Ainsley Bingham against Winky Wright, Ronald Winky Wright. Great technical boxer, could punch a bit. Good boxer. Good defensive skills. Beat the 11 daylights at Ainsley Bingham. But Bingham just had that one punch you're looking to knock guys out with. Hi. Major Joe Phelps' one-on-one interview dropped. It was revealing, it exposed a lot of the BS in the boxing media. Michelle Joy Phelps, again, I knew Michelle Joy Phelps, and she'll tell you herself. I used to talk to Michelle Joy Phelps on Twitter before she came into boxing. She was talking to me, we talked back and forth. She used to be she used to do modelling, and she used to do a lot of swimwear modelling, right? And we were talking on the internet, or on Twitter. And she said, I'm thinking of going into boxing, but I'm not sure. I said, go and give it a go. Why not? The worst you can do is not try and then think to yourself afterwards, why didn't I try? So there's your Michelle Joy Phelps. And then afterwards, you'll check out and see the interview of myself and Michelle Joy Phelps. So, yeah. Right. I've done enough talking for one night. Enough. But, yeah, I wish everyone the best. I have no ill feeling against nobody. I ain't got time for that. I've got my own career to sort out. And listen, this whole boxing Bayloric TV thing started as a challenge. Somebody said I couldn't do it. So I said, I'll show you I'll do it. And most of my great interviews were done when I wasn't even living in England. Think about that. You were the first to talk to Joy Phelps when she was a model. I remember. There you go. Norman Jr. did the same BS he did against Quinton Randell against Devon Haney. Yeah, I think boxing IQ 9 times out of 10 beats big punches, unless they're on PEDs, of course. Right, let me get out of here. Thank you for watching. Yeah, I'll think I'll continue my Frank Bruno boxing career. So I'll watch that. I'll do that. I'll continue my Frank Bruno boxing career. I'm sorry, I did make Frank very stiff. I did give him punching power, but that wasn't enough to beat the first guy. So I'll come back and play that tonight. See you then. Take care. Thanks for watching. Smash the like button. I'm out.